Jim, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm a huge fan. I think I've listened to at least, what do we have, 500 episodes now?
450 something as of recording this. By the time this publishes, it'll be I don't know, 60 something.
I bet you I've listened to most of them,
That's
if not
awesome.
all. I know. And here I am.
So I created an AI version of me, and I guess I didn't even need to because I've trained the AI version of Jim on all of the podcast episodes, and I didn't even need to. I could have just hired you full time to be like my AI.
That's right. Yeah, I am fully available all the time to be a chatbot for Jim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
That's great. Great. Sign you up. So, Dave, when you and I first connected, I was speaking at an event, online virtual event, and you heard me speak.
Mm-hmm.
You signed up for the coaching call with me. You were already successful. I mean, you were already a successful guy when you found Reveal Your Path. Why hire a coach?
I think with anything, there's another gear, right? And if you're successful and you want some accountability, which I thought I needed at the time, and I think most people do, hiring a coach was a natural progression and the natural next step for me. We met during COVID, and that's why it was a virtual event. And I think, like a lot of people, I moved into my basement. I was working on stuff. I felt isolated. I saw you on the call. You went through the steps that you take, and it resonated with me. And you're a wrestling guy. I said, oh, yeah, I like the wrestling guys, and I'm kind of one myself. And I think it's not like working out, right? And everybody knows this. Like if you have a trainer and you have to be there at 6 a.m., you're going to be there, and it's some extra accountability. And it's the same thing for coaching. And I don't want to steal your material, Jim, but all of the areas that we've worked on could all use improvement all the time. And then somebody making sure I'm getting it done. And I found that to be what I found with you guys.
Well, you have an athletic background, which a lot of our clients do, and a lot of our listeners do as well. There's a certain framework or infrastructure there that's in place that pushes you, challenges you, and a lot of people might look back in their athletic career and say, well, I didn't achieve all of my goals. Maybe you're more older now, more mature now, whatever it is, but there was an infrastructure. You can see that there were coaches, there were people, there were teammates, there was an environment, there was a plan, you had very clear goals. So I think that resonated with you like it does a lot of the Pathfinders, which for the listener, Reveal Your Path is the name of our coaching program. And we call our clients Pathfinders, and I'm a Pathfinder and Dave's a Pathfinder. So tell us about your athletic background and what that infrastructure was like there for you.
I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, and I'm 80s kid, right? Early 90s ish. There was not much to do except for play sports. So we played sports year round, and I played soccer all through high school and eventually in college. I wrestled and I played baseball. And the listeners know this. By the way, if you've ever achieved your athletic goals, good for you. I think when you set the goals back then, it was like stuff that I want to be the gold medalist Olympian in something, or win the World Cup or start in the Major League Baseball as a pitcher. So I think the goals do change as we mature and get older. But I played 3 sports all through high school, and then in college I actually played college soccer, men's soccer. I don't even know if you knew that, Jim. Did you?
I didn't know that. How did I not know that?
I don't know, but there we are. Yeah. So, but, I mean, you mentioned the structure, right? So the structure of the athletics is something that, I mean, I still strive for. I'm a routine, habits, systems, processes guy. And I had success in my athletic career, I think, because it was built in for me. And going back to your first question, when you get out into the real world, and I'm running a financial planning firm, and I'm meeting with clients, and I have a family and my wife and kids, and we're playing sports, and now we're involved in their sports, and we have animals and all the things, right? It's not, the routine and structure is difficult to build, and it's not somebody there telling you exactly what to do. So again, that might answer your first question, but a little bit about my athletic background too.
Yeah. So what has been most helpful now that you, once again, just like when you were an athlete, now you have a coach in your life and a community and teammates, if you will. What has been most helpful for you in moving you towards achieving your goals?
I think the most helpful thing is the process itself. And it's two things. I don't know how much you want to dive into this, but we set micro goals, right? So part of my routine has been every Wednesday morning. I strive to do this. I'm not always successful at it, but then I have to answer to a coach, by the way, if I'm not. But I set the micro goals, and those goals are, it's all about the self, health, wealth, and relationships, right? And an example would be every Wednesday morning. Maybe my job this week is to find a babysitter, so I have a date night with my wife on Friday or Saturday. And maybe it's setting up a dad day with the kids. Maybe a quarterly dad day. They pick where we go. No electronics, none of that stuff. And I just need to make that happen on my micro goal chart that we've developed according to my priorities, right? So first step was we created my priorities, my core values, and that type of thing. The second part is actually executing on it. And that's the hard part. And it's the simple but not easy, right? Everybody knows we should eat healthy. Everybody knows we should be working out. Everybody knows we should be studying, getting better, reading, listening. How many of us do it? Not many. But the micro goal part and the process itself has been extremely helpful. A close second to that is the community within, and I don't mean to make this an advertisement for you, Jim. Maybe you like that. I don't know. But it just is. That's what we're talking about. So it is a community that's been created, and I've found a great network of other guys that have similar values, similar issues, similar concerns, and we've professionally and personally shared a lot. And even within your program, I don't even know if you know this, a lot of guys are doing business with each other. We're doing
I love that
business
when that
with each other.
happens. Yeah.
I know. And it's just natural because you know what, when we talk about date nights and kid days and sporting events and we're coaching, like we're really getting to know each other through the process. And then we say, okay, by the way, what are you doing for work? I already know that I like you and want to work with you and trust you. What do you do? And then it turns into business stuff as well. So that has been helpful.
Good.
Yep.
A lot of people say, well, Jim, like, I know what I have to do. I just got to get myself to do it. I just got to get myself to do it. And they don't sign up for a coach. They don't work with the coach. Like, it's not that I need a coach. It's just like, I just got to get myself to do the thing. Like, what would you say to that guy?
I would say, how's it going? We all know that. And one of my biggest things that I have found, if it's attributed to any amount of success that I may or may not have had, is the routine and the calendar. And I will tell you guys, 5 years ago, if I'm looking at my calendar, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, Jim. On Monday morning at 9, Monday at 10, Monday at 11, Monday at 2, Monday at 4, Tuesday. And I time blocked. I did all the things I was supposed to do. Did I execute on it? I would say at about 30%. If you want to execute on those things and you want to execute on the routine that you develop for yourself and nobody's holding you accountable, again, how is that going? Probably not as good as it could be, right?
Yeah. The example I always use is like when I was wrestling at the University of Virginia, I did my own workouts. I had, I'd go in and do extra workouts, me and a buddy, me and a teammate or something like that. And it's like, well, why do I even need a coach? I can do my own workouts. I can go lift weights in the gym. I can go put myself through a wrestling practice. But it's like, you're never getting as much out of those as you are when there's a coach present, right? You're just not max. If I didn't have a coach, I would have never won any ACC championships, never got onto the podium at the national championships. It just doesn't work that way. And now out here in the real world, the stakes are higher, right? We're trying to make, let's just call it what it is. We're trying to make a lot of money, right? It's an awesome thing to make a lot of money. I mean, I'm not saying that should be it's not the focus of your life, but like, we want to make a lot of money so that we can support our families, set our kids up well, experience the world and take the vacations that we want to take, reduce those burdens. So it's like, you're making a certain amount of money now. Can you make more for even more abundance? And maybe it's just to give more of it to your church or to give more of it away. Are you healthy now and fit? But like there'd be just like, there's another level, another gear. Like for me, this like part of this community is like, and I'm the guy who started it. It's almost like I started it because I needed it, I mean, to be honest, the framework came because I needed it. I was at a low point in my life, and I'm like, man, there was something in my life that unlocked me back when I was competing that I need back in my life now. But now I have this community of, and you're one of the guys in there. Like there's a challenge there. I posted my Murph. I did a Murph this morning, and I posted in there, and John, a longtime client in there, and he commented on it. And it's like, there's just a level of a standard that gets raised by interacting with these other individuals. I did a Spartan race with Brandon, who one of our Pathfinders, John, also who I just mentioned. Like, me and John and Brandon did we did a Spartan race together a couple of years ago, and it's just like, these are other people who are living, willing to push themselves and want to live at a higher level than they would otherwise live. And now these guys would all be living at a high level, and yourself the same. But it's like, there's an even higher level, right? There's even more. Like, when I die, I want to know, like, I maximized everything in my life, right? Priority, God and relationships, and then my health and well-being and money and impact in the world. Like, I want to do it all, man. I want it all. And like, that's what this framework and team, community has brought me.
Wow, Jim, that people could unpack that for 2 weeks itself. You had a lot there. You're best equipped to help who you once were, right? Which is how you developed the system and the framework, because it helps the way that you once were to execute on these things. Second part, the rocking chair test. If you're sitting there and you're 90 years old in your rocking chair, do we have any regrets? Nothing more painful than regret. I had a wrestling t-shirt that said that, Jim, in 7th grade. Nothing is more painful than regret. On the no fear shirts. Remember those?
Of course.
And then
big, ugly, like wrestling t-shirts, especially back then, were just big and ugly and gaudy and like horrible. Yeah.
Guys climbing on each other. Yeah.
Yes,
I had all those.
huge. And they're like, the graphics are like huge and like messy, and
they were asking for us to be made fun of. But the third thing there, let me give you a real example. Is a real example of the accountability that you mentioned at the beginning of that was, I did, and the guys listening will appreciate this. I did a back and shoulder workout, right, on Tuesday. And this Tuesday, I brought somebody with me. And I track it on my watch, and I look at the stats afterward. And I'm going, right now I have a goal of calories and some heavy whatever. With the person there, I burned 1,250 something calories. The same back and shoulder workout the Tuesday before, by myself, at around 550, I said, that's good. Good enough. Sure. Accountability. Yep.
And so that 550 is more than most people will do, right? So we're saying,
that's how I justify
Dave's at a high level, right? Hey, I did my workout, but like, there's more.
Yes, and that's how I justify it. And the second part of that I was going to say is, through Reveal Your Path again, I have accountability partners, and I share my workouts with them. And I'll tell you guys, if they see 550 on Dave's watch and I share it with them and show the picture, it's not a congratulations, Dave. It's, hey, man, what happened? Did you get hurt? I know. And it's like, well, I did more than most people. But just having a little bit of accountability, and then the partner, it's the same thing across all the areas.
So let's talk about your habits. Maybe it's stuff that you've developed through Reveal Your Path, or maybe it's just stuff that you've learned elsewhere. And by the way, it's so great that you guys are sharing ideas and sharing concepts and reading books and listening to podcasts and coming back and going, hey guys, this is what's working for me. And there's like all this sort of growth happening, because it's not just me, it's me and whatever else every other people are bringing. But what does your day look like? What routines do you do that when you're doing them, and like you said, you're not doing your micro goals every Wednesday, but like when you are, right? And I'm the same way, like none of us are perfect. I miss my habits and routines at times as well. And it's just part of it, right? We're trying to get better at that always. What are the ones that work for you? What are the habits and routines that work for you? Now, this could be in your business, because you've grown your business significantly since you started working with us. Health, relationships. What are some habits and routines that work well for you?
So I'm totally a fan of the, what do we call it? The ideal calendar, ideal week, ideal month, whatever it might be. And I've done pretty much any iteration of that I could imagine. And a big change was when you have kids, right? So you have to rebuild everything when you have children, and then there's bus and other things and lunches to pack and helping the
Yeah.
wife in the morning, all that stuff. So it's changed a lot, but I am very, very regimented, Jim, to the point where it drives my wife crazy, and I know that, but she kind of laughs it off now. But I have in my calendar, if I showed you the week, I could show you as of right now, May 17th of 2034. I know what I'm doing on that Friday, and it will change probably 7 times before that, right? But at least I have that in my head, and
Mhm.
I'm an early person, so typically 5 to 6 a.m. I'll wake up. We do the. I think I'm eating the right stuff. I'm drinking lots of water right away. I'm doing the supplement thing. Then the kids wake up, and we're waking up with the kids, and we're getting them ready, get them off to school. Literally get them on the bus at like 8:13. And what I've been doing recently is going right to workout, and I've put in the time in the morning. There's about an hour in there to respond to some emails and text messages, which is against every morning routine you've ever heard about. But for me, it knocks it off the list, and I feel good that there's no fire to put out, and I don't need to notify my team at the office, right? So water, supplements, get kids ready, respond to some fires if there are any, bus, workout. And it's to the point where if you click on the workout, there's already an Excel sheet populated in my calendar, and I just follow the thing. So I don't even have to think about it. And I know we talk about creating routines and making it easy for ourselves. My stuff's packed the night before. Jim, I believe you sleep in your workout clothes, which I think is weird, but it's awesome.
Shoes and everything, shoes laced up. It's winter. My hat's on, gloves are on, the whole bit.
Yeah. So mine's in a gym bag. I got the clean towel. I put it in there. I set it right by the door. I put the stuff in there that I'm going to eat or drink right after the workout to make it super easy. I'm tracking it. I'm usually to the office by 9:30 or 10. And remember, I've already done some work before. So it's not like I'm showing up at 9:30 or 10. And then I've got the routine of the work stuff, which I'll spare the listener, but I have absolute blocks between it. One thing that I want to point out that has really worked for me is if you're taking your life in a certain direction, and mine is headed to the role of the CEO, as we've talked about a lot, and going from starting in my case as a financial advisor into becoming the CEO. I've been doing this for 20 years. Is scheduling the schedule that you want, and then the stuff happens, which is weird.
Big
So like
rocks
my
first. Yeah.
Mondays, and I can tell you this, my Mondays are now a CEO day where I meet with the head of this team, the head of this team, our advisors, our operations people, and then I do business numbers at the end of the day. I could not have done that before. I had to force myself to put that in my calendar because I knew that's who I wanted to become. It's not what I was doing, but unless I did the thing, I would have never been able to become that role. So I would recommend, if anybody's a fan of their calendar or they're looking for advice on that, my one thing that I've done and that I've been successful with is scheduling it the way that you want it to look like for you. And I don't know what that is for everybody, but man, I wish I knew that 20 years ago. It's been
Yeah.
a game changer for sure.
That's a great tactic. It aligns a little bit with the act as if, like,
Yeah.
what does it look like when things are going well? What does it look like in my ideal day, ideal life, ideal routine?
Yeah.
None of this happens. None of this happens without doing the productive pause, right? That short period of focused reflection around specific questions to get clarity of action and peace of mind. Like clarity of action, peace of mind. That's what we're all looking for. That's what people are looking for. And it doesn't happen by just being busy, right? And everybody's busy. Like you're busy, I'm busy, everybody's busy. But if you're not doing the productive pause, you're spinning your wheels. You kind of get to the end of the day. You're like, man, I went 100 miles an hour all day long. I got 100 things done. I just don't feel like I have no idea what I did though. I don't even know if I moved the needle. And it's like, if you are doing the productive pause, you have a plan, you have intention, you have habits and routines built in. Listen, this is coming from two framework guys. Like you love frameworks and systems and processes as do I. And I understand that is that's an inherent characteristic of me, my wife, and you and I've talked about this. Your wife, they're wired differently, right? Have different sort of characteristics, not better or worse. It's just, this is how my brain thinks and how your brain thinks. And we operate better with that, right? There's, again, going back to the infrastructure of a world-class athlete or just when you and I were competing in our sports, like there's a framework, there's an infrastructure there. And when you have that in place, you just are more intentional. You're getting the things done that you wanted to get done, as opposed to all of the other things that can fill your day, fill your life, the minutia, nowadays, the social media, all of that, is just,
Yeah.
it all gets in the way.
I can't imagine not having that. Like,
Mm.
you want to talk about anxiety. Some people, it makes them anxious to have that discipline, and the old discipline equals freedom for me. Right.
Sure.
And
Yep.
for a lot of folks, but I would be very anxious if I did not know what I was doing when I was doing it. And then what that allows me to do is, at the end of the day, we've got like 3 kids sporting events tonight. As of right now, I have 11-year-old and 6-year-old, and it's crazy. And you guys know this, how many sports things are happening this month. And I can go there and be fully present because I know I took care of the other stuff. If I didn't have that in a calendar, I think I'd lose my mind. One thing for the spouses that don't think in the terms of framework, negotiating a morning, right? So, and Jim, we've talked about this, like Wednesday mornings, it's like, I'm out of here at 5 a.m. Like, I'm leaving. It's 2 hours of quiet time. I go sit at a coffee shop or maybe the office, and I can do so much that morning. But I've picked a morning a week. I've worked that out at my house, and it's like, that is a great, I would say, an action item for the folks that aren't taking care of that, is picking some time. One other thing I wanted to point out there, Jim, was, and I work with a lot of successful people myself, obviously on only one of the areas that you talk about, but one thing that I notice is the people that I think have it together and they are wealthy, they schedule days for themselves. So like, I've adopted that. So once a month I have a CEO day where I just go wherever I want, and I have a framework and a system around that, but it is a built-in productive pause. And that is where these ideas come from, and it's exciting. It gives me energy. I love my CEO day probably more than any other day. But it's basically like, if you're stuck in the 9 to 5 right now, and you have a vacation days you can take, and you're not using it with your family, I'm telling you guys, take some days and just go do something for yourself. It will re-energize you completely. And then maybe think about your side hustle, right? I know we talk a lot about that. If you're looking to get out of the 9 to 5 because of a side hustle, those are the days where you can go build it, and it will give you energy to go back and do the things you have to do, take care of those things, and then work your way into the dream, right? Into the side hustle that becomes the full-time job.
And for the listener who says, well, Dave does that because he does the CEO day because he's successful. It's like, no, Dave is successful because he thinks that way, because he does these types of things like the CEO day and investing in coaching and all of that. Like, this is, like I said, Dave was successful before he came to us. We've I think had a hand in that since then, but it's like, there's certain things that he does and ways he operates that makes him successful. And so, I encourage the listener to adopt these and start thinking about, okay, how can I apply this to my life? And so, Dave, you mentioned too, you alluded to it just a couple of minutes ago or a minute ago here, that you work with people in one of the areas. You're a financial advisor. What are the frameworks that you think about when you think about my listeners? 40 to 50 men in their 40s and 50s, maybe 30s to 60s if you extend it a little bit, but primarily men in their 40s and 50s, successful professionals, families, busy, life is busy. What are their blind spots? What are the issues you see people overlooking when it comes to their wealth and finances?
Yeah. So even the name of our firm, Jim, is a framework. So when somebody asks me a question like that, I start thinking about the 6 points of financial planning: investment planning, retirement income, risk management, estate planning, tax planning, and then custom goals. And the custom goals is kind of a catch-all, but that's where the 6 points came from. What I see missing the most, especially from busy people, is, and a lot of this has nothing to do with me, Jim. This is like, maybe I'm the quarterback of their financial situation, and I'm sending them to other professionals to take care of stuff. So in no way is this self-serving, guys, because I think a lot of time when someone hears, oh, a financial advisor's talking today, I'm going to like try to sell them life insurance over a podcast or something. This actually is the opposite of that, because I know that I can give you 2 that have nothing to do with a financial advisor. Number 1 is the estate plan. And when I say estate plan, most people think that I have to have millions and millions of dollars. When they hear the word estate, they associate that with being very wealthy. That is just not true. If you're the 9 to 5 person and you have a couple of kids and you're married, if you don't have a will, healthcare proxy, power of attorney, and trust set up for those kids, please go do that immediately. Huge blind spot. That's number one. Number two, with the healthcare proxy, power of attorney, will, and trust, is not updating it. So, Jim, I can give you I can give you guys tons of stories on. I've delivered checks to ex-spouses when somebody's passed away for millions of dollars because they didn't update their beneficiary. So imagine being divorced for 20 years. You're married to somebody else. You pass away. Your ex-wife gets a check for $1 million because
Wow.
you didn't update your beneficiaries. Crazy. And I have so many of those. Updating stuff. So get it done, update it. And then third on that part of it is what I see a lot just as far as the will. And let me ask you this, Jim. I don't know if you know this. I'll put you on the spot. If you have a will and you have an IRA and your beneficiary on the will is your wife and you put, let's say, your kids on your IRA application, which one wins? The will or the IRA?
You win. Dave wins. Is that where it goes? It goes as Dave done it. I have no idea. I've no idea.
The answer is the IRA wins. So a lot of people, when they go get their will done, do not update their beneficiaries on their investment accounts. So it needs to be coordinated with the attorney. So when you go do your will, that does not update everything. You need to update the investment accounts as well to make sure it's coordinated with the beneficiaries.
Interesting.
Which, by the way, your kids should not be the beneficiaries on your IRA, but that's for a different day. That was an example. But I've seen all of that stuff before where something happens. And I'll tell you what, man, the people that you think are organized and you think they're all set, I've had so many people that are like, wow, I thought dad had it together. And their last memory of dad is that he was insanely unorganized. That's not good. Get the stuff done, guys, please. That has nothing to do with the financial advisor. That is, go see an estate planning attorney immediately if you haven't done that. I've had too many stories over the last 20 years of seeing crazy stuff happen with not updating and getting their documents taken care of. Okay. You have any questions about that?
Well, I was just going to say, these are things, this all makes a ton of sense to me, and for the listener who's sitting there going, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. A couple thoughts. Number one is I just finished reading a book called Who, Not How. Yeah. And it's like, no, you don't have to do it. Like, you have to take the first steps, but who do you have on your team? Like, it goes back to the Reveal Your Path framework is like who's on your team? Like, part of our coaching is the environment of excellence. Like, who do you need on your team? This is your doctor, your coach, maybe your therapist or counselor, financial advisor. Like, you need to have these people on your team so that you can live life the way you want to live life, right? So that you don't get to the end of your life and go, gosh, I really let that slide or slip there, or didn't, you want to minimize. We're probably all going to have some kind of regrets, but like, you want to have this stuff dialed in. You don't have to do it on your own. Who's on your team? But go ahead, Dave. You got more for us, I know.
No, well, that's, man, who's on your team is important. And listen, the first step to that is send an email to an attorney. They'll get back to you. That will schedule the time. Once you get it in the calendar, you will do the thing.
That doesn't take long. Like the whole estate dealing this, you like, oh man, it's going to take so long. It's like, no. It's one thing. It's literally one email. Like, you send one email, then the things start to happen and it snowballs and it gets easy from there because your job is to just tip the first domino. That's easy.
Man. And listen, it's one of those nagging doubts that most people have, right? You have this once in a while when you think about it, it's like, yeah, I got to go get that done. End the nagging doubt, guys. Send the email. So let me give you the second one, Jim. Tax planning is missing in most folks that are listening to this. And what do I mean by tax planning? If you guys don't know do you know what tax bracket, you don't have to answer this, Jim. Do you know what tax bracket you're actually in? If you don't know that stuff as a beginning, and if you don't have an advisor or a CPA that is doing planning, tax planning is very different than tax preparing. Most of us take our stuff to the CPA's office, or we email it to them now, or mail it, or we drop it off. Then they get back to you and say, this is what you owe, or this is what you might get in a refund. That, guys, that's you guys being a historian. That already happened, right? Mm-hmm. That is in the past. You're turning in your documents from last year. What I am talking about is, and this, I'm trying not to get too technical, but there are tax forms called 1040s. That is the summary of your taxes for the year. Your accountant or your advisor should be running those 1040s. We have AI tools now, Jim. It looks like we're doing all sorts of work. It doesn't take long. We take 1040s, and this is not an advertisement for us. I'll say all good advisors are doing this now, and it's a thing. 1040s scanned into a system, and it helps you make adjustments if needed and what you may have missed. I can tell someone in 5 minutes on a really nice, clean report, hey, you missed this deduction. You should have done this. Let's do this for next year. This is how much room you have between the bracket you're in and the next bracket. Let's do rough conversions. By the way, this year, this is what happened on our taxes. This is what we should contribute to going forward. Maybe you're putting all your money into your 401k, and it might make sense to put it in an after-tax account because we are in a historically low tax rate environment right now. Okay. So sorry, I'm trying not to go off too much on that, but tax planning versus tax prep is missing. And again, that doesn't take much time. It's one of those things like, yeah, that sounds good. But it should be a nagging doubt again. Like, are you guys getting the most from your tax planning? And that really doesn't have much to do with a financial advisor.
Sure.
So it's your CPA and maybe your advisor for sure.
Dave, do you have anything you can share in terms of documents or resources that we can tap into where we can learn more of this? Certainly you have your podcast, and I do want to give you an opportunity. I want you to share that podcast because there's a wealth of resources there, but how else can people find this information from you?
I'll send you some links and some samples to put in the show notes for sure. Yep. I've recently been doing a lot of videos, Jim, on like the steps of financial planning just to get it out there. And it's not an advertisement for new clients, but it's like, if you're trying to do this yourself, because this is the hard part. And we have a lot of do-it-yourselfers, right, Jim? It's like do-it-yourself coaching. Sure. Again, how's that going? But in our world, a lot of people don't even know what they don't know. And an advisor can eliminate the fear of missing out. Going back to the estate planning, is all of your stuff on one page? If something happened to you right now, what would they find? I love that question. Would your wife know where to go? Would your kids know where to go? You want a one-page document? I mean, it's super easy. We could draw stick figures. You, Jim, Jim's wife, Jim's stuff on the left, her stuff on the right, joint stuff below them, insurances above it. Who's the attorney? Who's the CPA? Who are their kids? Do you have that document? If you don't have, like, I can share something, a link to getting that thing done. Yeah. I can show you what a tax plan looks like. And again, this has nothing to do with us. This is like, guys, please just do this for your own sake, especially if you're in the grind. You want to talk about making small steps to get out of the grind. This is it.
So for the listener, we will have those links in the action plan. Just go to jimharshawjr.com/action. We'll have those links, and if you've already downloaded that you've gone there before to that website, you're getting the emails every Monday morning. We just send this stuff. This lands in your inbox for the listener, like just lands there. You don't have to do anything. You're getting the best stuff from all these podcast episodes delivered right to you. So, Dave, how can the listener find you, follow you, learn more about you, et cetera?
So I have a podcast. It's called Dear Rochester, Retire Well. I'm in Rochester, New York. You can find me now, Jim, on all social media stuff.
Yeah, we can.
I was harassed
YouTube,
enough. Oh man, YouTube.
Dave's got a YouTube channel. It's pretty good. It's really good too, by the way. There's some great videos on there.
We're getting better too. I have had a lot of folks recently saying, "What are you guys doing? Like, how are financial advisors don't? I thought you weren't allowed to do this stuff." And I love pushing the boundaries too, Jim. Don't tell my compliance department, but. I've got YouTube linked. I'm all over LinkedIn. I've been on that for years. We have a Facebook page going. We have Instagram. You can find those under my own name, but you can find me all over the place on there. And guys, here's the deal. Ask me anything. If you're listening to Jim's podcast, you are somebody who, again, is probably already successful, or you are looking for answers to things and you're looking for resources. That's why you're listening to this right now. You can ask me anything. And I really mean this. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm here to help. I'm here to bring value to Jim's audience because they've provided so much value to me. And I really mean that. You're not going to get spammed by me constantly. Like, if you have a question, let me know. I'm more than happy to help.
There you have it, folks. Take advantage of it. This is an opportunity for you. Dave, so thank you so much for making time to come on the show.
Jim, I appreciate it. So happy to be here. I wish we could go for 2 more hours because we only did 2 things for the guys, and I could have done 20, but yeah, hopefully they were valuable.
We'll stop the record button and you and I will just talk for the next 2 hours. How's that?
It's a deal, Jim. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. See ya.